Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive series, part of Speak More Fluently.
Hello.
Today, we're really pulling back the curtain on something, well, absolutely crucial if you want to understand English the way it's really spoken and, sound more natural yourself when you speak.
Right. We're tackling that feeling, that moment when you know every single word in a sentence.
Yeah.
But then you hear it spoken fast, at natural speed, and it just sounds completely different, almost like a secret code.
Totally. It's all about how sounds shift and blend when words connect, isn't it?
Exactly. It's not like reading words from a dictionary. They bump into each other.
And things change. So we're diving into two big reasons why. Assimilation.
Where sounds kind of morph to be more like their neighbors.
Right. And intrusion.
Where these little extra sounds just pop up between words to smooth things out.
Yeah, sneaky little sounds.
They are, but they're not mistakes. That's the key thing.
Oh.
They're actually built-in efficiencies in English. And really getting your head around them, that's the key to unlocking faster listening and making your own speech just flow better.
Okay, so we've got some great insights lined up showing exactly how these processes work and, importantly, how you can start hearing them and maybe even using them.
Let's do it.
So let's jump right in. This whole idea of connected speech. What is it really? Is it just about talking fast?
Oh, it's definitely more than just speed. Speed is part of it, sure, but it's more about how words kind of lose their sharp edges, their individual boundaries.
Oh, okay.
When we speak naturally, the end of one word just crashes right into the beginning of the next.
Right.
And the sounds influence each other. It's not like word A, pause, word B, pause. It's a continuous stream.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's why learners often get tripped up, right? They hear a phrase they actually know, maybe like, I want to. But it doesn't sound like those three distinct words. It comes out sounding more like satrial.
Exactly. Wanna. That gap, that difference between the isolated word you learn and the connected speech reality, that's the core challenge, isn't it?
It really is.
And if you don't quite grasp that this transformation happens, well, then everyday English, spoken fluidly, can feel incredibly tough to decode.
Like trying to read a blurry sign, you said earlier.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
But once you know what to listen for, and crucially, why these changes happen, suddenly that blurry sign starts to come into focus.
And you can start trying it yourself.
Exactly, mimicking it.
Okay, so let's tackle the first big one. Assimilation. It sounds a bit technical, maybe?
It can sound that way, but the concept itself is actually pretty intuitive when you see it in action.
Okay.
It really just boils down to making things easier for your mouth. Assimilation is when a sound changes, it adapts to become more similar to a sound right next to it.
Ah, okay. Like it's getting ready.
Exactly. It just requires less physical effort to move from one sound to the next if they share some features.
Like where you make them in your mouth.
Precisely. Or how you make the sound. Or even if your vocal cords are vibrating or not. It's all about efficiency.
And the examples are just everywhere, aren't they? I mean, the classic one is don't you.
Oh, yeah, the perfect example.
If you say don't and you slowly, very clearly, you hear that distinct et sound at the end of don't.
Right.
But say it quickly naturally, don't you know. It almost always sounds like don't-tʃuː.
Spot on. Don't-tʃuː. The E sound from don't basically merges with the J sound, the Y sound, at the beginning of you.
And creates a whole new sound, a day.
Exactly, a T sound. It's a simulation of both place where you make the sound and manner how you make it. Your tongue tip is already moving towards the palate for the J sound.
Ah.
So the T comes just before it shifts forward and changes into that T to make the transition smoother.
Wow. Okay.
And you see the same pattern with voice sounds, too. Like, I told you.
I told you.
Slow. A D and told and the G and a U, but quickly.
It sounds like DN told you.
Exactly. Told you. The D sound bumps into the J sound and very often transforms into a D sound. Same mechanism, just voiced.
Wow. Told you. I've definitely heard that and probably just assumed I misheard the word told or something.
Happens all the time.
It makes so much sense, though, that your mouth is just anticipating the next movement.
It's planning ahead. And another really common one is nasal assimilation. Think about the word handbag.
Handbag.
Say it slowly. Hand. Bag. You clearly hear that N sound, right?
Oh,
Made with your tongue behind your teeth.
Yep, N.
I have to say it at a normal conversational speed. Pass me the handbag.
It sounds more like hembe with an M.
Precisely. The N sound often changes to an M sound right before the B in bag.
Why does it do that?
Because the B sound is made with your lips closed, right?
Right,
B.
right.
Your mouth is already getting ready to close the lips for the B while you're still making that nasal sound. So the nasal sound shifts from the N position, tongue behind teeth, to the M position, lips closed, to match the upcoming B.
So it literally sounds like handbag sometimes. That's fascinating.
It really is. The sound changes before the next one fully lands. It's all anticipation.
Okay, so it's not just our ears playing tricks on us.
Not at all. It's physiology.
So, all right, beyond just spotting these changes, what's the real takeaway here for someone trying to, speak more fluently?
Well, it means these aren't just like weird exceptions or slang. They are happening constantly in casual chat, even in relatively careful speech.
Right.
If you're not aware that handbag can sound like hembio or don't you like dəʊn.tʃuː, you might constantly be second-guessing what you hear.
Leading to misinterpretations.
Absolutely. So actively recognizing these patterns and maybe even trying to practice them helps your brain decode faster speech much more efficiently.
And it probably smooths out your own pronunciation, too.
Significantly. Makes it less choppy.
All right, if you expect it, you can hear it. Okay, let's move on to the second phenomenon. Intrusion. Sometimes called epenthesis.
That's the technical term, yeah. But intrusion feels more descriptive, doesn't it? A sound is intruding, appearing where it wasn't before.
Exactly. So what's happening here?
Intrusion is basically about inserting a small consonant sound, usually an R, a J like Y, or a W between two words.
Okay, why?
To break a gap smoothly. It happens most often when one word ends in a vowel sound, and the very next word starts with a vowel sound.
To avoid that awkward little pause or clash between the two vowels.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It helps maintain a smooth, connected rhythm, prevents a hiatus.
Got it. And we have examples of where these intrusive sounds tend to pop up. Let's start with the intrusive R. This is a big one in certain accents, right?
Yes, particularly noticeable in non-rhotic accents. That's accents like standard British English or Australian English, where speakers don't normally pronounce the R sound at the end of a word unless it's followed by a vowel.
Like in car or idea.
Exactly. But in these accents, if a word ends in certain vowel sounds like the roan idea or des and spa, and the next word starts with any vowel sound like of or is, then a little R sound often gets inserted between them, even if there's no R in the spelling of the first word.
Wow. So the idea of it.
Instead of isid mosev, you'll very often hear isid down say, error. The idea of it.
I hear that now you pointed out, like India and Pakistan becoming ʻɪndiə.r.
ʻɪndiə.r, yes, or Africa is becoming Africa.
Right.
It just links the vowels effortlessly.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what about the intrusive J, the Y sound?
Right, the intrusive J. This tends to happen after high front vowel sounds. Think of the E sound as like in C, or the A sound, AC, or I is in my.
Okay.
When one of those sounds comes right before another vowel sound at the start of the next word. So see it, sees it. Often becomes see it. See it, a little Y glide connects them.
See it? Yeah. And maybe you and I.
Can sound like you, and I, just J. Although U ends in U's, it can sometimes attract a J or a W, actually.
Yeah.
But it often becomes he's, Steve's.
You got it. And the last one, intrusive W.
This one typically appears after back vowel sounds, like the oo sound used in to, or the oo sound o as in go.
When the next word starts with a vowel.
Exactly. So go out, go ate. Very frequently sounds like go ate.
Go wow.
With that little W glide linking them. Or too early.
He becomes too early.
Precisely. Too wearily.
Okay, so these are quite subtle sounds, the RJ, W, Jalia. Why is recognizing them so important? What difference does it really make?
Well, they might seem small, but they are absolutely fundamental to achieving that natural rhythm and flow of English.
How so?
If you're rigidly expecting go out to always sound like two separate distinct words,
right,
and then you hear go, ate, your brain has to do a little extra work, a double take almost, to process it.
Causes a slight delay or confusion.
Exactly. Being unfamiliar with intrusion means you might miss phrases or just feel like you're constantly slightly behind the speaker. Learning to hear these linking sounds makes spoken English feel less sort of brumpy.
More like a smooth river of sound, you said.
Yeah. And then when you start using them yourself, even subtly, your own speech sounds less hesitant, much more connected, more native-like.
Okay, this is fascinating. We've explored what assimilation and intrusion are. Now, the really practical part. How does someone actually learn to, hear these things consistently and then maybe start using them? It feels a bit elusive sometimes.
It definitely can, like trying to catch smoke. But there are some very practical strategies we can outline. One key idea is using explicit explanation.
Meaning not just telling someone it happens, but actually showing them how and why.
Exactly, like taking "don't.tʃuː" and writing out the standard phonetic "d.ɪ.ɪ.j.ū,"
Okay.
and then explicitly showing the change to "d.ɪ.ɪ.j.ōs."
Okay.
Maybe even writing "don't.tʃuː" phonetically underneath.
And saying both versions clearly.
Yes, making the invisible process visible. Or, for intrusion, writing ʻɪndiə.r.ænd and separately, then showing visually how that little bridging AR appears when they link. ʻɪndiə.r.ænd.
Seeing the rule, the original, and the result side by side.
It's really powerful for understanding.
Okay, what else helps learners get the hang of this?
Microdictation is another great tool. These are really short listening exercises, focusing on just one specific feature at a time.
So not trying to understand a whole long sentence, but zeroing in.
Exactly. You might listen to a short sentence, chosen specifically because it has clear assimilation, like, "Did you see it?" becoming, "Did you see it? Did you?"
Or maybe intrusion, like, "Her idea is good."
Yeah,
With the sense.
the goal isn't a perfect transcription of the whole thing. It's about listening specifically for that sound change or that intrusive sound.
You try to write down what you actually hear in that spot.
Right. Then you compare it to a transcription that clearly shows the connected speech form.
Yeah.
It's very targeted ear training.
And then you practice saying it yourself.
Absolutely. Try to produce that same merged sound or linking sound you just identified. Connects listening to speaking.
And do visual aids help anchor this learning?
Oh, definitely. Things like phonetic charts are always useful, maybe diagrams showing how the tongue moves or lips close for assimilation.
Or even just simple reminder cards.
Yeah, like summarizing common patterns, a card saying A plus JE with examples like "don't you, what you want," or another showing I is plus vowel, I's is J vowel with see it, he is.
Having a quick visual reference during practice
Makes a big difference for many learners.
Okay, so once you've got these strategies, explicit explanation, microdictation, visuals, how do you make the practice more active, maybe in a group or even adapting it for self-study? There were some fun-sounding activities mentioned.
Yes, like one called Spot the Change. This is great for listening practice. You use short audio clips.
Like from a news report or maybe even a bit of this conversation.
Could be anything natural or specific pronunciation resources online. First, you listen just to get the gist.
Understand the meaning.
Then you listen again. But this time, your mission is to specifically hunt for those moments where words blend or change because of assimilation or intrusion.
You try to pinpoint the exact phrases where it sounds different from the isolated words.
Right. Then, if you can, listen again more slowly. Try to scribble down phonetically what you actually hear in that connected part.
And compare it to a script that marks those features.
Exactly. And the crucial final step is drilling those phrases yourself, aiming to replicate that natural connected sound. It really links focused listening with targeted speaking practice.
That sounds effective. And connected speech relay, that sounds more like a game.
It is. And it's fantastic for production practice, especially in a group, though you could adapt it. You set up teams, like a relay race.
Okay.
And you whisper a sentence down the line, a sentence chosen because it contains a target feature. Maybe "she sees it" for intrusive J, or "I need to go now" for the assimilation and need to potentially becoming need a mistread.
Got it. And the challenge is to pass the sentence along while maintaining those connected speech features.
Precisely. The last person in line says the sentence out loud.
And you see if the sees it or the Nita survived the journey.
Exactly. It makes practicing these sometimes tricky features more engaging, more memorable, and reinforces actually producing them.
This has been incredibly useful, really breaking down these concepts. Let's try and wrap up by focusing on the big picture again. For someone listening who starts paying attention to assimilation and intrusion, maybe starts practicing. What's the ultimate payoff? Why go to this effort?
Oh, the benefits are genuinely huge if your goal is fluency. Firstly, and maybe most importantly for many, your listening comprehension gets a massive boost.
How so?
You simply stop being thrown off balance when sounds merge or appear unexpectedly. Your brain learns to anticipate and process these natural variations much more efficiently.
So you can understand native speakers talking at a normal pace much more easily. Less panic.
Much less panic, yes.
Yeah.
You're decoding the reality, not just the textbook version.
And for our own speaking.
Your pronunciation becomes significantly smoother, more natural sounding. You start moving away from that slightly robotic word-by-word delivery. Practicing these linking and merging patterns helps your speech flow much more effortlessly. You sound more fluent, less hesitant.
And I guess that must lead directly to feeling more confident when you speak.
Absolutely. It's incredibly empowering when you understand that these sound changes are normal, predictable, natural parts of English.
Not mistakes you're making or just random noise.
Exactly. You realize you don't have to perfectly articulate every single sound of every single word, because native speakers don't either. It reduces speaking anxiety and makes engaging in spontaneous conversation feel much more achievable, much freer.
So, to sum up, assimilation where sounds blend and change, and intrusion where little linking sounds pop in, these aren't errors or shortcuts. They're fundamental tools native speakers use, often unconsciously, just to make speaking easier and more efficient.
Spot on. They are absolutely vital bridges. They connect the language you might learn from a book or an app to the living, breathing language that's actually spoken out there in the world. Getting comfortable with them is a key step in truly speaking more fluently.
Well, this deep dive has really illuminated some of the sort of hidden mechanics behind fluent spoken English. It's fascinating stuff, and it does make you wonder. If native speakers are constantly adapting sounds like this, prioritizing efficiency and flow over rigidly sticking to isolated pronunciation rules, what other habits or strict rules from textbook English might we, as learners, be able to relax a little bit, in the pursuit of sounding even more natural and effortless?
That's a brilliant question to ponder. What else is more about flow than rigid rules?
Something for you all to think about as you continue your practice. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the sounds of connected speech.
Our pleasure.
We really hope this helps you on your journey to speak more fluently.